Burns, Robert Burns.
In episode 45, we are joined by the delightful Julie Hamilton, the brand ambassador for the independent bottler Elixir, as we taste drams from their Single Malts of Scotland and Port Askaig brands.
Yes, indeed. And Julie talks to us about the processes of this amazing indie bottler. And we also talk about Whisky Clubs. Yes, it's our Burns Night show as well.
I know we say this every week, but you can see a lot more whiskey stuff over on our social media platforms. At Whisky and Things Podcast on Instagram, that's the place to be. And at Whisky and Things on Facebook and Twitter.
Yep. And if you'd like to help us out, please rate, review, and subscribe on all your favourite podcast platforms.
You're listening to the Whisky and Things podcast with Dave Giles and Nick Kent.
Welcome to episode 45. I'm Dave Giles.
And I'm Nick Kent. Welcome, everyone, to Whisky and Things podcast.
Welcome. Nick, you've had a busy weekend, haven't you?
Mate, there's been so much going on. We've got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks, which we've been recording and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But also, it was the Water of Life film launch on Friday, so I've been doing the Q&As for that in the evening, which is awesome.
Nice.
So I'm doing another one of those tonight. But before that tonight, I'm also doing the Whisky Exchange Burns Night quiz.
Amazing.
So I'm going to see if I can hold my own in that one. Lots of research to do today on Scotland and Burns and all that kind of stuff. Of course, we're recording this today. Recorded an interview last night for a future episode. It's all go, mate. Yeah, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, mate, I've been chilling.
Well,
yeah, mate, I've been very busy as well, doing other things. But yes, it has been fun doing the interviews we've been doing. But I wish I could have joined in with the some of the Water of Life stuff. It looks fantastic what you've been watching over there.
There's been some great stories come out of it. Some really great stories. If our listeners have been watching, they'll know it's wonderful.
I think a couple have. I've seen a few people post about it, which is good. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
We sent people in that direction and they actually listen. So hopefully you've been in. If you have, please let us know and let us know if you've enjoyed the Q&As.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week...
do some work, Dave. You do this bit.
Yeah, all right, yeah. This week's show, something a bit different. It is the day we're recording it is Burns Night, so we wanted to get a proper Scottish voice on this week. Not our first Scottish voice, but a proper Scottish voice nonetheless. And when we were at the Whisky Show, the virtual Whisky Show last September, we met the lovely Julie Hamilton, who works for Elixir Distillers, and we asked her then if she'd come on, and she said anytime. So this has been something we've been waiting for our opportunity, and we thought, what better than a Burns Night episode? So we messaged Julie a couple of weeks ago and said, hey Julie, would you like to come on and talk about Elixir? And she said, yeah, let me send you some whiskey. So she did.
And did she? Good Lord.
So what we've got coming up, we've not got one whiskey of the week. We actually tried 3 different whiskies, 2 of which you're going to hear all about in the next segment of the show. And the third one is a Patreon exclusive. More of that later as well. Anyway, so right now, Nick is going to press play on a sting and then follow that by his edited version of our interview with the lovely Julie Hamilton from Elixir Distillers.
Whiskey bots, roll out.
Welcome, Julie Hamilton, brand ambassador from Elixir Distillers. Thanks for joining us on Whisky and Things.
Cool. Nice to be here. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Really well, thanks. Really well. So we met doing that whiskey show. We got horrifically drunk one day. Well, no, we didn't. We had a lovely chat one day, learning all about whiskey, and we learned a little bit about Elixir and what you're up to.
That's networking in whiskey.
I'm sure that's what you call it. I'm sure.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who weren't there and don't know who you are, please give us a little bit of an introduction into yourself, how you got involved with whiskey, and what is Elixir Distillers?
Okay, so I am the brand ambassador, as you said, for Elixir Distillers. So my job is talking to people about whiskey and travelling around. Ordinarily, in a normal world, I'm travelling around the UK and also overseas as well to talk about our brands and tell people about whiskey, just kind of educational pieces, festivals, tastings, different things like that. And yeah, I'm coming up for 2 years with Elixir now. And before that I worked not in a whiskey job, but I was doing whiskey things on the side. So I organise a whiskey festival called Glasgow's Whisky Festival, very subtly named. It's very inventive there. The Glasgow's Whisky Festival, we've been running that now. Last year would have been our 11th year.
Wow.
But sadly we didn't manage to run in November. So I've been doing that for 11 years, and I was a brand ambassador for Scottish Malt Whisky Society as well. So yeah, I had a few whisky things. I'm also the chair of Glasgow's Whisky Club, another very inventively named association that I have. So I'm one of the founding members of Glasgow's Whisky Club. So we've been going for about 16, 17 years now. And I took the leap from a local authority position that I had been in for years, a million years, and took the leap and took a
Went
job
full-time whiskey.
Yeah, and now this is me. Dream job.
Yeah, you're living the dream.
Aye, not half.
So before we get on to more about Elixir, talk me through the Whisky Club, because we've heard about a few of these. What does a Whisky Club do? And in terms of the Glasgow one, how big is it? How big does it get? Have you got many members? And do you meet often? Obviously not at the moment, but what's the usual running order for a Whisky Club?
So we've got around, I think last year we had about 65 in the membership, but at any given time we're obviously restricted by the amount of whiskey that's in a bottle, so we cap it at 35, and we meet twice a month. So we have 2 bars that we meet in Glasgow. Our home bar is the Bon Accord Whisky Bar. And we meet there on the last Tuesday of every month, and then mid-month there's another bar called the Alpine Lodge that we meet in, and they let us use their function suite. Nice. So it's just a place to go, and people that are like brand ambassadors, bottlers, people from distilleries and things like that will host for us mid-month. So the way it works is we email. So we email an advert out, and the members email back. And until, I think it was May last year, was the first one we did as a virtual tasting. So we've been running 2 a month since May last year.
Wow. And
it's been really it's been a sterling effort, because somebody has to make up all the little miniatures. So we've got all these wee mini bottles, and so 35 sets of 6 of them get made up, and then we've got a committee of 10, and they go to the person who's made up the dram sets and pick them up, and then we deliver them all over the city for people. So yeah, we've adapted definitely to
Amazing.
To the lockdown situation. So yeah, it's been good. So
I guess it's all a very social thing as well, obviously, because you must have made some good friends through that if you've been doing it that long. Yeah,
absolutely. And this is the thing, our jobs, the brand ambassadors, our jobs are 98% social. It's the other 2% is the admin we have to do, and it's just been so weird. We've just been doing things like this, so I don't think this will go away though. I think this will keep going. I definitely think that
there's a place for it, isn't there? Because it means you can. Well, annoyingly for you, they might not send you around the world as much, but it means you can do a tasting for some Tasmanians perhaps without going all the way over there.
That's it. The only ones that have been tricky are the Canadian ones, because they've been at midnight and 1 a.m. That's
body clock all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on to Elixir. Elixir is a independent bottler.
Yes.
Okay. And how long has Elixir been around, and what's its remit?
So Elixir has been on the go since 2002. And we started with, this would actually take us nicely onto our first whiskey if you want to do this.
Fantastic, yeah. Well, we'll start preparing.
We are the independent bottling leg of the Whisky Exchange, if you like.
Yeah.
So the Whisky Exchange started in 1999. Sukhinder and Rajbir Singh started the Whisky Exchange, and then Sukhinder started to bottle his own casks in 2002. So yeah, Single Malts of Scotland, this first one that we're going to have is a single cask of Glen Bergie, which is a Speyside distillery. So this one is 21 years old. It's 59.4% ABV, so nice and punchy on the ABV. So this one was distilled on the 8th of October 1998.
Wow. So you got that information.
Where were you in 98, Dave? What were you doing?
Bottled just on the 19th of December on 2019.
Wow.
So, yeah, so these are this is single cask, single malts. So very limited. So this one is one of 298 bottles.
Wow,
so this
crazy.
One,
My first sniff of this, it does not smell like a 59.4.
No.
Does it? I thought this was going to blow my head off straight away. You know, because you've not been shy with the ABVs on this little testing.
Hey, Nick. You know, you just asked me what I was doing in 1998, so I'm just going to digress slightly.
Boom, boom, ba-dum.
Yeah, I found this yesterday. I was reminded of this yesterday. From May 1998, Simpsons comic, edition number 15, and I was letter of the week.
Wow.
My God.
There's a photo of me as an 8-year-old, and I wrote that I sent in because I look like Milhouse.
Everything's turning up Milhouse.
Yeah, I wrote this. Let me read this to you because this is absolutely hilarious.
Please.
I would have been 13. I can just imagine me writing this as well.
Okay.
I am fed up with people calling Milhouse names. He is my favourite character, and some people even say I look like him. It is because of this I have written to complain. In issue 12, in the junk mail section, Terry Horsfield had a poster published. The title was Simp Trek, and in the middle was a perfectly good drawing of Milhouse. I looked up to see Milhouse Van Houten as Geek Face. I am greatly offended and want to stop to this Milhouse bullying. After all, he is Bart's best friend.
All right, Poindexter, put the book down.
So that's what I was doing in 98, Nick. I was being a snowflake. Anyway.
You were writing strongly worded letters to the comics.
Exactly.
Strongly worded email. Strongly worded letter.
After all, he was Bart's best friend.
Oh, well, of course.
But meanwhile, someone was distilling some mighty fine whiskey.
Absolutely.
Oh, this does smell great.
Does, doesn't it?
Doesn't smell. You're right. It doesn't smell too strong. I'm guessing, is that partly to do with the age? So, because it's a bit older.
So it's quite punchy on the palate. It's
Right.
nice and easy going on the nose, but it's quite punchy on the palate.
It's not too dark for a 21-year-old either.
No, so we don't add any colour to our whiskies.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice
Do you like that?
nice lead in there. We don't add any colour to our whiskies, and they're not chill filtered either. So
Right.
we don't add any caramel colouring in there, and we don't take any of the good oils out.
Yeah.
Chill filtering is a thing that some companies do for clarity. So
Yeah. I'm guessing at 59%, you wouldn't have to worry about that too much anyway.
you don't really need to know. It's
Yeah.
not really going to go cloudy unless you've got it out in the freezing cold, which up here at the moment is not difficult to do.
Well, this is incredible.
Cheers.
Again, I know it is. You're right. It is a bit punchier, but it still doesn't feel like a 59.4.
No.
It still doesn't. It's not tearing my face off.
Yeah.
That is a lovely, it's strong, but it's not like I need to run, get some water or something. That's a really lovely burn. Lovely, full of flavour. Coats the mouth immediately.
It's really fruity, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
a fruit.
Apricots and pears are what I'm getting. on the
Pineapples.
palate. Yeah. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely. I had an apple beforehand, and I wasn't sure if that was influencing my tasting. But I'm glad you both said that because it definitely has that.
Yeah, and it's not just that. Yeah.
Wow.
So Glen Bergie, is this a regular distillery you guys work with?
So it's we've bottled quite a few actually. So we have a few labels at Elixir Distillers. So we do a fair bit of export as well. And this is in my head because I was writing tasting notes this afternoon for another Glen Bergie that we're sending out to Taiwan. So yeah, it's one that we've got some casks of, but yeah, and it's generally around about that kind of age group, that age bracket.
Right. I've never heard of Glen Bergie before.
Yeah.
Which isn't surprising because I've not heard it. I'm still quite new to this. Would you be able to find a Glen Bergie in a shop, or is the only way you could get it through an independent bottler like yourself?
Glen Bergie is a Chivas-owned distillery in Speyside, and ordinarily it's predominantly blends that it goes into.
Right.
So what you'll find with independent bottlers is that we can buy casks of whiskey that companies like Diageo and Chivas and all of these companies will use all these whiskies for their blends. And we will buy parcels of casks of them, and then we bottle them as a single malt. So you can do Glen Bergie, they do their own bottlings of that. Not massive though. You'll get it in specialist whisky shops.
Yeah.
15 and 18-year-old bottles of Glen Bergie you can get as official bottlings. So
right.
OBs are 15 and 18, and you'll see them as independents quite a lot as well.
Which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So OBs, that's original bottling.
Official bottling.
Official.
Official. Right.
Official
Okay.
bottlings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
OBs and IBs. IBs are independent bottles.
Learning all the terms here, Nick, aren't we? Look at that.
All the jargon.
Millhouse is learning today. It's good.
Exactly. If only I could find my glasses.
You're listening to the Whiskey and Things podcast.
Are you involved in the tasting and the picking of the whiskies, or do you just get the final product and have to deliver the goods to the clients?
Yeah, I just get the final product. Ollie Chilton is our cask selector. He's our blender. So he selects all the casks, he does all the blending, he looks after all the whiskey, he makes all the decisions. He's our whiskey master, if you like.
Right.
Wow.
So there's one person in charge of that side of it that it's their fault if it goes wrong.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was like 3 separate people for the 3 different brands you represent, and they were kind of maybe competing for each cask and all that kind of thing. But it's one guy decides which label it goes under.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have every single cask of whiskey that goes into glass at Elixir Distillers is tasted. So where we have whiskies that are batched, so our core range, and one that we'll come on to drink in a little minute, there'll maybe be 50 to 60 casks in each of the batches. So every single one of them's tasted. I can't imagine actually what that must be like, because I've been involved in, we released a 12-year-old Port Askaig this year. Last year, God, I need to get used to this, being 2021. last year, and it was that was a vatting of 18 ex-bourbon casks of Kalila, and I tasted all of them. I went with them to do that because I wanted to be part of, doing that.
Yeah.
And it's not as glamorous as it sounds. You end up like pretty dirty claiming about casks, and so we're tasting straight out the Valentine out of the cask and just tasting the whiskey and throwing it in the ground, like moving on to the next one. So when he's doing 50, I think he's out in the courtyard. I can't imagine it's always glorious weather up here for him to be doing that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, and there are occasions where he'll come across casks of whiskey that will really stand out, and he'll put them aside for certain things. We've done that before, where we've had casks of Kalila that have really been really stand out, quite different from the rest of the batch. And then he makes a decision whether they go into Single Malts of Scotland or Elements of Islay, which is our other label as well.
Right. In terms of the casks as well, the ones you buy, like you get them from the distillery, and they've obviously maybe aged their whiskey for a long time. Are they possibly really small batch casks that they might not have a use for themselves. It might be an experiment and they might want to put it out, but it's on such a small level that it's not worth putting it out under a bigger brand or their big umbrella. Are those the casks that get offered up to independent bottlers like you? Or do you have a choice of their actual main casks as well, as it were?
There's, again, a variety of different answers to that, but in the main, and this is where Ollie really enjoys spoiling the romance of all of this. It's done on spreadsheets. It's done. We buy casks of whiskey. I know.
I'm off. You've ruined it.
Whereas I'm super excited. She said spreadsheets.
Dave loves a spreadsheet.
I'm like, what? Yeah. Spreadsheet?
Really?
Are the graphs involved as well, Julie?
I'm quite sure there will be graphs and charts. But we buy whiskey in parcels. So you're actually not even buying it from the distillery. You'll be buying it from the company.
Right.
You'll buy a parcel of casks. So on occasion, it'll be a parcel and it'll be the age. Occasionally, it'll be the parcel and it'll be type. There'll be a list. There'll be choices to make. It's lovely to think that you would kind of wander around and choose them. You know, I'll have that one, please, and that one, please.
Yeah.
You know, but it just, it's not definitely
It's not like that.
This is lovely.
Yeah, I've already finished, and I want to get back onto this because this is on the Single Malts of Scotland label, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk through the different labels we have and how a whiskey might end up on each of these labels if there is a reason for it?
Sure. So under the Single Malts of Scotland label, we've actually got 4. So we have the single casks, which is the one that we're tasting just now. We have Marriage of Casks, which tends to be older whiskies that might not necessarily stand up on their own as a single cask, but combined with 1 or 2 others of a similar age and the same distillery, you know, so it's still a single malt. They become the Marriage of Casks. So we had one that we did for the Whiskey Show, actually, which was a 22-year-old Clynelish. That one was 2 casks. One of them was actually at the point where it was bottled and they decided that they didn't think it was up to scratch. So it got taken back out of glass again. Oh, and they rebatted it with a second cask and rebottled it, and it was fabulous. Like the second time round, it was great. So there's Marriage of Casks, single casks, director specials, which are always old and dignified whiskies, spendy, you know, pretty expensive, but they're the ones that Sukhinder chooses.
Right.
So like 43-year-old, 45-year-old, 38-year-old whiskies.
Wow.
That we have under the director specials. And then we have reserve casks, which are a similar position to Marriage of Casks, except they're younger. So again, whiskies that might not necessarily stand up on their own, but combined, they will kind of support each other and make a nice far thing. So that's Single Malts of Scotland. That was our first label.
Nice. So this Glen Bergie single cask, 21 year. What's the damage, Julie? What's this going to set us back?
That one was £110.
Right. It tastes expensive. It tastes good.
It does taste expensive. It tastes very expensive. So when you said you've got the 4 different sections for the single malt, are you only ever doing one whiskey at a time, and when that's gone you then do a new one, or will you have different reserve casks and single casks and all that kind of stuff
all at the same time? Yeah. Right. And we have batches. So just now under reserve casks we've got 4. Single Malts of Scotland, I think we've got 6 or 7. Single Malts of Scotland single casks, sorry, we've got 6 or 7. Director Special 2, and Marriage, I think there's just 1 kicking about now. Yeah. So we've always got a range under them all.
And is it a range of prices as well within that as well?
Yeah. So the reserve casks are the youngest. Well, I'm saying they're the youngest. Sometimes we've got young ones in the single casks. But it tends to be the reserve casks will be younger ages, and they'll be a better price point. We cut them slightly, so we take them down to 48%.
Right.
With those ones, I'm saying we cut them slightly. Some of them are young, so we probably cut them quite a bit. But a nice drinking strength for the ages of the whiskies that were totally under that label.
I mean, again, like the 59.4 with this one and the age, I had a jug of water here ready to kind of put a little dash in, and I just haven't felt the urge to put it in.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
A drop of water, like if you can manage to put a drip of water in, if you've not got a pipette, use a teaspoon even.
Right. So I had a little bottle cap here ready.
Oh,
It's often
perfect.
quite useful for that.
Perfect. If you
Yes.
just put a tiny drip in, that's just enough. It really opens it up. It's really fruity and yeah. So Glen Bergie, I'm pretty sure Glen Bergie goes into Valentines.
I'm pretty sure of that too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Some little snoop around earlier on
Oh, were
Tinternet.
you?
Yes.
Did you see that Valentines have launched a 20% whiskey?
Valentines have they?
Yeah, they've released a low alcohol whiskey.
I saw that White and Mackay had done that, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw today someone on Twitter posted interesting developments there.
Well, hopefully we'll find out more about that in Booze Round at some point, Dave.
Maybe, Nicholas. Maybe. Booze round.
Whiskey?
What have we got next then, Julie?
So next we have, so we're going to go for
Box number 3.
box number 3, yeah. This one is from our Portuguese Range. This is from our core. So Portuguese there isn't a distillery at Portuguese, but Portuguese is, if you've ever been to Islay, it's the northernmost port for getting onto the island. So there's 2 ports. Port Ellen is in the south, Portuguese up at the top, and we chose Portuguese to name our whiskies. And we bottle whiskies from a number of different Islay distilleries, but the core range that we do, so we do an 8-year-old, and this one is called 100 proof. They're both from Kalila Distillery.
Right.
So this one's a no age statement. It's 57.1% ABV, which is 100 proof in the UK. In the States, 100 proof is 50% because theirs is half.
Yeah.
Ours is a Navy term to do with rum and gunpowder.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad you explained that because I always wondered. Now
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it was something about our gunpowder or something wasn't as strong as the US one or something like, or it took more alcohol to blow up or something like that.
Yeah. So basically, if you soak a pellet of gunpowder in alcohol that's above 57%, it'll ignite.
There you go.
There
So
you
I
go.
keep a bit of this aside in case I need to.
Just in case you need to check your
in
gunpowder.
case I get, in case I lose my keys or something. Let's have a little.
So this one is as I was saying earlier on, this is one of our core, so it's batched. This is about 50 or 60 casks at a time that we batch.
Right.
And the age profile on these whiskies will be between 8 and 10 years old.
Right.
So this one, the 8-year-old is kind of zesty and citrusy, and it's a lower ABV. It's 45.8%. This one's 57.1. So a higher alcohol strength will give whiskey more layers of flavour. So this one's quite chocolatey and milky coffee. And if there was such a thing in the world as a chocolate chai latte, I think that's what it would.
Yeah, I'm getting some hazelnuts in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say chai lattes, like that's
Chai latte is so true as well. Yeah.
In the nose.
Yeah, wee bit of cinnamon,
Yeah.
some chocolate.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's real depth to that as well. And then there's.
Oh, I haven't tasted anything like that before.
Oh, you taste it? Have you had a sip already? Have you?
Of course,
Missed
come
that.
on, mate. Come on, mate.
Missed that. Jeez.
So it's a lot of time, people's association with Islay whiskey is that they don't like it. So you'll have had some smart arse in the pub who says, "Oh, you like whiskey? I'll get you a whiskey then." And they get people our Big 10 or Lafroig 10, and they're really proper, in your face, peaty, medicinal, first aid boxes. Everyone likens it to TCP and all that kind of stuff. And it's not all like that. So it's when people, so there are some whiskey shows that I do, some festivals that I do, and I've just got elements of Islay and Portuguese with me, and people will say, "I don't like peaty whiskey," and that's all I've got.
Right.
And I'll take them through the Portuguese, and people are always pleasantly surprised because it's smoke. So it's an argument I have with people sometimes, because people say there's no difference between smoky and peaty, but I think really peaty medicinal phenolic whiskey that tastes like antiseptic.
Yeah.
This one is more smoky. It's like bonfire smoke rather
Absolutely.
than a first aid box.
We were talking before we started recording about chokiski. This tastes to me like Lafroig after I've had a chokiski in my mouth.
Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
A really nice mouthfeel, a nice viscous mouthfeel to it. Again, that higher ABV will give whiskey more texture and mouthfeel, as well as the flavours. And a little drop of water in that one bursts open sweetness.
I'm going to do that because even though it's a little bit less than the single malts of Scotland, I can feel the alcohol a bit more in this one. So I'm just going to give it a little dash.
Yeah, it's got a nice ashiness. I think Kalila it's a kind of thread that runs through Kalila. There's a kind of ashy note to it. But
I was going to say that it feels like I remember waking up after my mum and dad had some friends around and got drunk, and you'd go downstairs, and as someone who doesn't drink coffee, you would smell the coffee in the machine, and the end of that when you were clearing it out, when you'd picked out the filter and you just had those wet coffee grinds. That's what this has got elements of that smell within the flavour of this. Yep.
Like also a note that I get as well, and I got that today when I was tasting something else, is like if you have demerara sugar in the bottom of an espresso. Right. So you've just got, because it never fully melts because there's so little coffee in it, the kind of end, that kind of sugary dreg, so it's more sweet, but that kind of hint of coffee in it as well.
That water did open it up. It got more chocolatey for me, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely,
didn't it?
Absolutely. This is so obviously it's a completely different distillery in different parts of Scotland, but it's so different to the from the Glen Bergie.
I'm not sure which one I prefer at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very Julie.
and how much would a bottle of this set you back?
So this one will set you back £49.
Very reasonable.
That's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Dave and I now have a kind of benchmark for where we think a whiskey which is well worth the money is around £65 to £75. So if it comes under that for me, I'm like,
perfect.
Pick one up.
What a treat.
Yeah. Pick one up.
It's amazing how your tolerance of price changes over the years.
Yeah.
Like
over the months, Julie.
Over the months. The curve has been quite steep on our
The curve has been very steep with that on that regard.
I think also because I'm one of the buyers for the Whisky Club. So when we're talking about whiskies all the time, we're obviously buying whiskies that we're sharing 35 ways. So we can afford to be spending money, and we do. There are times where I'll listen to us and we're like, oh, it's only about 480, that's okay. You know, oh, it's great. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, but you can't, I mean, you get what you pay for with these things. It's not always the way. You don't always get the best whiskey spending lots of money, and it doesn't always indicate that it's the best whiskey if it's really old.
No.
You're listening to Whiskey and Things.
So Portuguese is, that's our youngest label. So we started bottling this stuff in 2009. This one used to be called Portuguese Cask Strength, and then they changed the licensing laws, which meant that you weren't allowed to use the words cask strength on a bottle if it wasn't what it came out the cask as.
Right.
So 57.1 is, as near as damn it to what it's coming out the cask at. But because it wasn't, because we had cut it, we had to change the name of it, and it was changed to 100 proof.
Right.
Hence the 57.1%.
Yeah. Well, even like 100 proof still gets people's, attention, doesn't it? I mean, yeah. In terms of marketing, you're fine. You're fine there.
Absolutely. So we do a range of ages under that, and sometimes we bottle from, we've bottled from Bunnahabhain, from Lafroig. I'm sure there's a Lagavulin in there somewhere as well before my time.
Right.
But we release a special release every year. Last year it was 2 12-year-olds that we released. Next year, I think it's got next year. Here I go again, 2021. I get there by the end of the month. I get to talking about this year.
I get there by the end of the year.
You stop writing it by the end of the year.
Yeah, so annoying.
So I think it's a 15 that we've got coming this year. So exciting stuff.
For me, it's just trying to wrap up that Elixir covers these 3 brands, right? Essentially, there's the 3 labels. There's the single malts, the Portuguese, and Elements of Islay.
Elements of Islay, yeah.
And that is Elixir Distilleries.
Yes.
Right.
We also bottle black top rum as well.
Okay. I think I knew that. I think I remember that.
And
from
we've
the
got
Whisky
our
show.
exports. We've got export labels as well. One of the export labels is called Whisky Trail. So we, in fact, the Whisky Exchange will sell. They're the only UK retailer, the Whisky Exchange. They'll sell Whisky Trails, but they're single cask, single malts, the same as single malts of Scotland.
Right.
But sometimes we put out single malts of Scotland, single casks are kind of very distillate-led, flavour-led whiskies. Whisky Trail we sometimes get to have a wee bit more fun with, things that were maybe a wee bit more unusual. We do different series under that label. So we've had lots of kind of exciting different ones. The new ones that we've got coming out are a cowboy series, which are just brilliant. They're like country and western posters. The labels on them. They're great.
Awesome.
Really cool. So yeah, we do that as well. But essentially for the UK, Single Malts of Scotland, Elements of Islay and Portuguese are our 3 labels. Yeah.
And what would you say are the main benefits of really getting involved with, as a consumer, of getting involved with an independent bottler?
So independent bottlers have the ability to bottle casks of whisky that don't necessarily go with the profile of the distillery. So every cask of whisky is different. It can come from the same distillation, and it goes into different casks, and the casks change the whisky, where they're sitting, all these different contributing factors. And you'll have, so if we take Glen Bergie, the first one that we had as an example, Chivas will bottle a flavour profile with that, and there will be a distillery, there's a distillery character there, but they'll have a flavour profile, and they blend their casks to get that flavour. Whereas if we bottle a single cask of that one will taste different to the next one, will taste different, but you get a kind of feel for it, and you'll see a kind of trend, obviously, with what we're doing, the kind of styles of whisky that we bottle. Drinking independently bottled whisky, you're always going to get something that's just a wee bit unique.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I love the OBs as well, so particularly Glen Bergie is one of my favourites. Glen Bergie and Glen Talkers are both Chivas distilleries, and I love the liquid that comes out of both of those distilleries. But they're more likely to put those things into blends. We will bottle things that are a wee bit different as well, and varying strengths as well.
So you're essentially you're getting something unique every time, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. For the single cask ones, so and Elements of Islay, the small batches of them, they disappear really quickly.
Yeah.
And this is going out on our Burns Night special.
Oh, cool.
So you're our first. No, you're not our first Scottish guest, but you're a proper Scottish person that we've got on Burns Night. So what will you be doing on Burns Night? How will you be celebrating this year? Are you doing a tasting somewhere, or what would you normally be doing?
So Burns Night this year, I will be having a Zoom night with friends. Well, that's on Saturday. That's not actually on Burns Night, but we'll be having a night. So I'm in charge of the drinks for that. So I'm doing a nice whiskey cocktail. A good pal to have, I'll be doing a whiskey cocktail and a toast, so a dram for the toast. On actual Burns Night, no, I don't actually think I do. I've got other tastings round about it, but I'm not actually doing one on Burns Night, so I'll get to be all patriotic and eat haggis in the house.
Neats and tatters.
That's
Neats
it.
and tatters.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, we hope you enjoy that, and thanks so much for joining us on.
That's been cool. Thank you.
On Whiskey and Things, we have to get you back on because these two have been amazing, and we'll talk some more about them afterwards.
Cool.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
See you later.
So, Whiskey God, how did you celebrate Burns Night?
Well, I addressed the haggis, toasted the lassies, and recited some Burns poetry while sipping on a wee nip of Scotch whiskey.
Very
That
nice.
sounds cozy, doesn't it? Do you want to give us a bit, Whiskey God?
Oh, poetry recital. Look at this.
I was talking about the whiskey, but sure.
Right. Oh, were my love yon lilac fair, with purple blossoms to the spring, and I a bird to shelter there, when wearied on my little wing. How I would mourn when it was torn by autumn wild and winter rude, but I would sing on wanton wing when youthful May its bloom renewed. Oh, if my love were yonder red rose that grows upon the castle wall, and I myself a drop of dew into her bonny breast to fall. Oh, there, beyond expression blessed, I would feast on beauty all the night, sealed on her silk-soft folds to rest, till scared away by Phoebus' light. Slancheva.
Slancheva indeed, Whiskey God.
I can't believe it, Nick. We've brought some culture to our show. Actual culture.
Mate.
You and I have successfully added culture to the list of things.
It's like the South Bank show, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be presenting the one show before you know it, Nick. You watch.
Oh, imagine that. Jesus Christ. No, we got faces for podcast.
Oh, cheers, Whiskey God. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Wasn't that awesome? Julie.
Oh, that was lovely.
She is wonderful.
Julie is wonderful, and Elixir Distillers are wonderful, and those whiskies were incredible. As we said earlier, there is more from Julie and another whiskey, a whole other whiskey, one of their Elements of Islay bottlings, the BW8. You can hear that over on our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/whiskey and things.
You can watch it too. You can watch us drink that.
Absolutely.
Beautiful 51.2%er after we've done the other ones. Will we be a bit slosh?
So if you would like to know more about Julie, or hear more from Julie, she's on Twitter at Elixir Julie, and she's on Instagram at Julie_Elixir. So that's where you can find out about Julie. And Nick will, in the show notes, also put some stuff for Elixir as well. I'm sure links to their website and links to the Whisky Exchange where you can buy some lovely whiskey. And talking of our Patreon page, we're going to throw way ahead here. Well, we know this is episode 45, but that means we're coming up to a big event here. A very big event. Nick, what's this big event?
We turn one.
We
Don't
do.
Dave? We turn
got
one.
our first birthday party.
Yeah. Episode 53 is going to be our 1 year anniversary. Good Lord,
Yes.
does that come around quick?
I know.
So yeah, we're doing a little celebration for it, involving our patrons.
Absolutely. So similar to what we did on episode 25, we're going to be doing a live show.
Recording. Live show recording.
Live recording. Yeah, a live show recording. Just for our Patreons. And it's not too late for you to sign up because we decided we want to give everyone a chance while we're talking about it now. So you have until the 15th of February to sign up if you would like to be involved in our... Actually, if you sign up after that, you can still come along. But if you sign up before the 15th, then we can send you some whiskey so that you can join us in our tasting and give some tasting notes, or just be there when we're doing some tasting. We're actually going to send our patrons some whiskey. So if you would like to sign up, and that's any of the tiers, that sign up to any of them, and between now and the 15th of February, and you'll receive some whiskey. We've got a lovely scotch planned for our 1 year show.
It's going to finalise it, which one. It's going to be good, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
Well, I thought we had.
We had, but we want to make sure we can get the supply. We don't want to...
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
just
That's
wanna
not
make
now.
sure.
Just in case.
Just in case. Just covering ourselves there.
Yes, we think we know what it is, and it's good. If it's not going to be that one, we'll make sure it's good. Anyway, you've got till the 15th, which gives us plenty of time. We're going to be recording that at the beginning of March, so if you sign up, I will be sure to send you the link and the date for you to put in your diaries. If you're already a member of our Patreon, I will have sent you a link already to put in your diaries, to put in your e-diaries, so it's there for you to click on the moment we go live, and hopefully you'll get some reminders. So we'd like to give a big shout out to our patrons, because you guys are allowing us to try and do more things, and once the world opens up a little bit, we're really going to need that. So thanks very much to everyone. If you enjoy our podcast and you want to give us some support, please do that, and it's appreciated.
Very much appreciated. Thank you all.
Anyway, Nick, that's enough of us trying to flog things for now. What about next week's show? We've jumped ahead, but let's move back. We've still got episode 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52 to go. That's Lord. 7 episodes.
Good Lord. Well, next week's a humdinger, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, not to be confused with World Whisky Day, which is in May. According to the Scotch Whisky Experience, it's International Scotch Day on the 8th of February.
Beautiful.
So, for our show coming out on the 3rd of February, we thought what better way to mark the occasion than to inject some international Scotch vibes into the show. Yeah? We have the Canada-based duo Chelsea and Pamela of the excellent Dram Fine podcast joining us to taste the Auchentoshan American Oak Lowland Single Malt. It's our first podcast crossover, Dave.
Oh, yeah. A pod over? Do we call it a pod over? I don't know.
Yes.
Cross pod? Cross-pollination? Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Oh, there it is. Some cross-pollination going on for the first time.
Yes.
Chelsea's a Canadian native and Pamela is Scottish but lives in Canada. So that ticks every box for International Scotch Day.
Ticked all the boxes, mate.
All the boxes. All the boxes. So we hope you've enjoyed this show. We hope you enjoyed having Julie on and hearing us taste some Elixir whiskies. I'm a big fan, and I hope you will be too if you go and check them out. But ultimately, thank you for being here. Thank you to all those who clicked the share button.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
We will. So as always, cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Whiskey and Things has been brought to you by And Things Productions.